the other day I was reminded of something you and I talk about periodically, and then it came to mind again in terms of where we are in the ministry that we have and what we're doing in terms of blended families.
Yeah, well, you remember it started when we went to speak at the marriage retreat.
Mm-hmm.
That was our first time actually speaking openly about our journey as a blended family. But we've been doing that all of our lives.
Yeah.
Since we've been married, not all of our lives.
Since we've been married.
Since
all of
we've
our
been
lives.
married.
Yeah.
We've been married all our lives, y'all. But yeah, since we've been married, we've actually been, because we're a blended family, we've been living it. And so we finally got the opportunity to share our experiences and what we have learned, what we are still learning.
Right.
And from that, I believe once we did that, once we stepped out there and shared our experience with that, then God was like, it's time. Because remember, before that happened, God told us that we were going to do ministry together.
Right.
And we never knew, when God tell you something, you'd be like, okay, especially if it's something that you're like, okay, I don't know how this is going to happen or what you talking about. So you kind of like tuck it away.
Right.
Until a certain time.
Yeah, but I want to pull on that experience thread that you brought up, because that's what kind of made me take a step back and really kind of think about how this all came. Because what God showed me, and we've talked about this before, we were in a blended family.
Yeah.
So we would never, and still are, it didn't change. And we've been navigating through that environment. We were navigating through that environment and didn't have any help, didn't have any guidance. And we were learning as we went.
Right.
But the wisdom of God and what his plan was, everything you went through, all the experiences that you had, I'm going to use it.
Right.
And then to your point, we got to a certain point and he said, okay, now I want to start refining some things. So I'm going to put you with some people that can kind of help you that's been doing this kind of more on an official basis, if you will.
Absolutely. And then as he did that, he broadened the spectrum. And what I mean by that is he didn't just stop there and said, all I want you to do is deal with blended family.
Right.
He was like, I want you to deal with family. Because remember, we was like, okay, well, what kind of ministry is this supposed to look like? And then we both started thinking about what we had been doing for so long. Both being in leadership at church, both being leaders of small groups.
Right.
And then on the side, you know how you have your side hustle? Our side hustle was ministering to our friends who happened to be married and that, dealing with the challenges that they were facing. And I think, not saying that we were gurus, but I just think that they needed someone to share, what they were going through and to see if we were going through the same thing or how we could help.
Right.
So remember all those nights?
Yeah, those nights sitting talking. But the thing about that too. But the thing about that too, and you get to doze on.
Yeah.
But the thing about that too was it wasn't more, the Bible says iron sharpens iron.
Absolutely.
So as we were coaching, if you will, sharing, actually that's what we were doing. We were just sharing our experiences, sharing some of the challenges that we've had. It helped them, but it also kind of ministered to us as well.
Right.
And we started learning through our coaching on some things to kind of help us to enhance our relationship.
Right.
So to your point, we started with the blended and thought it was going to be blended, but then God showed us, well, you've been coaching people too. Y'all stayed up late. You went out of town and did some coaching.
Right.
So that's what kind of came to my mind, how all the evolution of this, if you will, how God brought this together and how he's continuing to grow it.
Right. And I believe that's when God gave you the name of the ministry, being fruitful.
Right.
And it came from the fruit of the Spirit.
Right.
Walking in the fruits of the Spirit, because that's what we were doing. That's how we were taught.
Right.
When we were, being ministered to under our covering at first. And then as we grew up and matured in our relationship with Christ, then we were able to start exemplifying that.
Right.
And, you know, in our walk and model that. And I believe that drew people to our spirit, not to us, because there's nothing special about Milo and Alicia outside of, you know, we just like you.
But we were called to this.
But we were called to this.
And I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, knowing what you're called to.
Absolutely.
And that's what it was for us. We were called to this.
Right.
And as to your point, we don't have all the answers, but what we do is we're genuine.
Yes.
And we are transparent. As
Vulnerable.
God leads us to be transparent, vulnerable.
Yes.
But we just care for people, and we want to help people navigate through the different challenges through our experiences. So,
right.
Absolutely.
And remember when I can remember someone had asked me, okay, well, what exactly is your ministry going to be about? And I was like, it's going to be about the family. Okay, what part of the family? And I was like, the whole family, because the whole family needs some help. Yeah. I said, but it's at different times.
Right.
And I think the person was kind of probing me to see what qualifies, you know, us to do that. Right. And the only qualification that we have is God.
Right.
You know,
in our experience.
Believe that in our experience, we believe that God shared this with us. And so by his leading, by his guidance, we walk in that authority, you know, to minister to whatever aspect of the family. Now, we haven't really had a platform, if you will, for very young children at this time, outside of our grandchildren.
Right.
But
that's a platform enough.
There you go. With 13 grandchildren, y'all, you know, we got a lot of experience
that's
over here.
Platform.
But for real, you know, through our children, you know, from childhood all the way up to adulthood, and we're still ministering to them, you know, whether it be directly or indirectly, as well as, you know, different family, friends, co-workers.
Right.
I mean, the list just goes on. And I believe that God felt like he could trust us with this. He could trust us with the family, trust us to, you know, give good advice, give real advice, practical advice, you know, and that's where the logo, you know, the motto came from, you know, transforming lives through practical teachings based on biblical principles.
Right.
And then remember what Mom said, right? Mom said, okay, how do you do this? You know?
Yeah. And that's the plus.
She's like, that's the thing.
Not just telling people, but showing.
Yeah.
And showing from our example, because what we've gone through, you may not be going through the exact same thing, but there's some nuggets there that you can use to help you. Right. Now, I want to say this, because we've been talking and people are like, okay, who are they? So I'm Milo. This is my wife, Alicia.
Hey, y'all.
And we're a part of Fruitful Family Ministries. And when we talk about fruitful, we have we're a blended family.
Yes. 7
kids, 13 grandchildren.
And counting.
Yeah, I think it's 13. I had another came up here recently.
It's 13.
So our desire, our heart, our passion is to share our experiences in a family setting, whether it be the blended family, whether it be couples. And even if it's a thing where, hey, look, I'm having some challenges with my kids. We've been there, done that. Yes. We've been married for 23 years this year.
Yes.
Okay, I'm glad I got that right, y'all. 23 years this year. So we have some experience and we're still learning, we're still growing. Right. So we just wanted to come in here, introduce ourselves to you. And
don't forget to tell the people, we've been married before. So we have more than 23 years of experience in marriage.
Yes.
We have more than 23 years of experience as parents, because our oldest is 40, will be 41 this year.
41 this year, yeah.
And then our youngest is
30.
Be 31 this year.
31 this year, yeah.
Yeah, so we got a lot of experience. Yeah. And then we got grandkids from 1 year old all the way to 18.
Yeah.
So whatever age
we got the gamut. We got it all covered.
The whole playing field. You just let us know what area you need us in, and we could jump up in there.
Yeah.
We do a one-on-one counseling, with men, with women, we do small groups.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. We got a couple of events that's out there right now. We have a new event coming up. This is our first year doing our own blended family seminar.
Mm-hmm.
We're really excited about that. We really believe that there is a space that is void because there's no place for the blended family. A lot of times in your churches, you try to smush them into the married couples ministry or the men and women's ministry, but they still are not getting what they need.
Something designated for.
And we know that from experience.
Right.
So, hey, come check us out.
So, with that, how can they contact us or reach us?
fruitfulfamily101.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram. We got a couple of videos out there on YouTube. And we got some blogs out there. We're getting ready to do a devotional book. Mm-hmm. So look out for that as well.
Check us out, y'all. We believe that God has called us to this and we can be a support or help. So just check us out. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to just talk to you a little bit and introduce ourselves, tell you a little bit about us.
Yes.
And we really look forward to hearing from you.
Absolutely.